My oh my, it's always a lovely beginning to the week when you see your political opponents mocked and ridiculed abroad. And that, my friend, is how we're starting off this wonderful week with the latest humiliation to beset our esteemed vice president. We're going to take a look at the protest signs that greeted Kamala upon landing in Guatemala City. How the conservative Guatemalan president made it clear that he had no love for her either, and how Biden's poll numbers have been tanking for 5 days straight. Not a bad start to the week. You're not going to want to miss it. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. We are your daily antidote to fake news, as each and every day we give you patriotic analysis that helps you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we dive into here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's our good friends over at Noble Gold. Gold and silver, gang. If you're sick of the low returns and volatility from the market, it is time to look at gold and silver. And that is where our good friends over at Noble Gold come in. There's really never been a better time to start a gold or silver IRA in your portfolio. And the amazing staff over at Noble Gold, they are ready to help you in any way that they can. And if that's not incentive enough, Noble Gold is gifting a 1/10 ounce solid gold American Eagle proof coin with every qualifying IRA or 401k rollover. So do not wait. Click on that link below or visit their website at noblegoldinvestments.com or even give them a call at 877-646-5347. Make sure to mention my name, Dr. Steve Turley, and let's ride that gold wave together. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Kamala Harris. Her much-touted trip to Guatemala has turned out to be an absolute and utter disaster. From the moment her airplane touched down in Guatemala City, protesters plagued Harris's visit with signs reading, "Trump won," and "Kamala go home," and others read, "Kamala mind your own business." Another read, "Guatemala is pro-life," referencing the fact that Harris has no biological children of her own, and frankly, her trip just went downhill from there when she met with Guatemala's conservative president, Alejandro Giammattei. She was greeted with, shall we say, a rather cold reception, to say the least. Giammattei is a huge critic of the Biden administration. He blames Biden's open border policies for this massive influx of migrants, many of whom, of course, have been coming from Guatemala, but others have been coming from the south and disrupting Guatemala as they barrel through the nation. So at the press conference with Kamala standing there, he made it clear that he was not happy with the Biden administration. And after the press conference, he told Kamala she needed to put her mask on, which required her to go back to her lectern to get her mask, and she complied. She put it on. I mean, the optics were just really bad. It just looked like the Guatemalan president was annoyed that she was even there. We have to remember that Guatemala is a very socially conservative country. They just voted in Giammattei in the last year or two. President Giammattei is himself very, very conservative. He ran on a thoroughly conservative law and order election platform, promising to get tough on rampant gang violence and drug cartels. He's very, very socially conservative, very pro-life. He's a defender of traditional marriage, is over and against progressive lifestyle values. He can't stand Kamala Harris. By the way, he won in a blowout election. He got nearly 60% of the vote to his opponent's 40%. So it was a real landslide victory, and it marks a stark rejection of Guatemala's leftist politics that have dominated up to this point. So needless to say, Giammattei is no friend of Biden or Harris, and he made that rather clear at the press conference. And of course, at the press conference itself, Harris just continued to embarrass herself. She pleaded with Guatemalans to stay home. She said to find hope at home and please don't come to the United States. It was a pretty pathetic plea, to say the least. And then, as if to pour salt in the wound, we're now finding out that she actually passed out cookies made in her likeness to reporters on her plane while traveling to Guatemala. She actually had cookies made up that resembled her official White House portraits, but with her face blotted out. And then she passed them out to reporters on Air Force Two. I mean, it was just utterly bizarre, and she was mercilessly mocked on Twitter for it. Some were calling it her Marie Antoinette moment, so let them eat cookies as the border crisis spirals out of control. So Guatemalans were absolutely right in mocking her, but it was not just Guatemalans that mocked and sneered at Harris. Even members of her own party slammed the trip. The insufferable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez lashed out at Harris's ridiculous call for Guatemalans to please stop coming to the southern border, saying instead that it was the United States that's in part responsible for destabilizing Guatemala in the first place. That's right, in the America Last world of AOC, America, quote, spent decades contributing to regime change and destabilization in Latin America. We can't help set someone's house on fire and then blame them for fleeing. According to AOC, America, the most evil nation that's ever cursed the earth, of course, is at fault for the current border disaster. Now, as I'm sure most of you know, Bumbling Biden continued to ignore the border crisis by putting Harris in charge of it. As of March 24th, Kamala has been put in charge of all affairs concerning the U.S. southern border. Since then, in many respects, things have only gotten worse. The latest estimate is that we're looking at upwards of 2 million migrants crossing the border illegally. 2 million migrants amassing at our southern border. It's beyond anything we could have imagined over the last 4 years. Just the month of April alone saw more illegal border crossings at any time in the last 2 decades. According to the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, more than 178,000 migrants, many of which were, of course, Guatemalan, tried to enter the U.S.-Mexico border in April. It was the highest one-month total in 20 years. By the way, if all this is making you sick, we did a video that's going to absolutely pump you up. You will definitely want to check out a video we just uploaded on what the state of Texas is doing to stop the flow of illegal migrants coming across the southern border. It's going to absolutely make your day. Governor Abbott has declared a state of emergency in Texas, which is giving him special executive powers to do what the bumbling Biden administration has thus far refused to do. So definitely check out that video. But needless to say, due to Biden's penchant for frequent naps, the situation on the border is nothing short of an abject humanitarian disaster. And it continues to be as we speak. Even the far-left activists disguised as journalists over at the Washington Post are admitting that. They admit that this was a crisis that caught they say the Biden administration, shall we say, sleeping. I actually think all of this was completely intentional by Biden, but regardless, even leftist rags like the Washington Post are admitting that this is a political disaster. And even as our southern border burns, our esteemed vice president, who's supposedly in charge of all affairs concerning the southern border, she has yet to make a single visit to the border. An inconvenient truth that even her liberal allies believe is a costly political mistake. And it does indeed appear to be eroding any semblance of confidence in the Biden administration. Take a look at this. Biden's approval rating is in a freefall. According to Rasmussen, Biden's poll numbers have been falling for 5 days straight. He's officially underwater at 48% approval, with 49% disapproving. Now, I need not tell you the dire consequences of an underwater approval rating for midterm elections, right? According to Gallup, a president underwater that is under 50% approval can expect to see a loss of 37 seats in the House. And as you know, that is, if you're a regular, of course, to this channel, Biden has been fledgling around the 50% approval mark throughout his entire presidency. In fact, again, we did a video that you definitely want to check out on an ABC Washington Post poll that found that Joe Biden's approval rating at the 100-day mark of his presidency was, quote, the third lowest since tracking began in 1945. The third lowest of any president in the last 75 years. This coming from two of the most left-wing media sites, ABC and the Washington Post. So right now, we're talking upwards about 40 seats the Democrats could lose in 2022. So obviously, things look pretty horrific right now for the Biden administration. Kamala's a joke, and a very, very bad one at that. She's humiliating Guatemala by both the people and the president, as well as her own press conference. all as Biden's approval rating is tanking to levels that all but guarantee a bloodbath for the Democrats in the 2022 midterms. So if you're a patriot, not a bad start to the week. Now, before you go, you definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded. You're going to love this one. It's on how the Republicans sweep elections over the weekend. You're going to absolutely love this. The new Republican Patriot Party is rising up like never before, and they are dominating elections in historically blue districts. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.